The twin suns of Valos Prime cast harsh shadows across the crystalline spires of Baron Kethis' fortress as Marcus Vale stepped into the opulent throne room. His weather-beaten leather coat bore the scars of his latest mission plasma burns, from the shadow creatures that had been terrorizing the Baron's mining operations for months. Every muscle in his body ached, but he kept his expression neutral. In his line of work, showing weakness was a luxury he couldn't afford. Baron Kethis reclined on his throne of polished obsidian, his six-fingered hands drumming against the armrests. The alien nobleman's skin held the deep blue hue of his species, the Cathari, and his silver eyes gleamed with barely concealed amusement. Around him, armored guards stood at attention, their weapons humming with barely contained energy. "Ah, Marcus Vale," the Baron drawled, his voice carrying the melodic accent of the Outer Rim aristocracy. "I trust the shadow creatures are no longer a concern?" Marcus reached into his coat and withdrew a small containment unit, its surface pulsing with dark energy. "Every last one of them. They won't be bothering your miners anymore." He set the unit on the floor between them. "Now, about my payment." The Baron's laughter echoed through the chamber, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, deceptively beautiful and utterly cold. "Payment? Oh, my dear human, I have something far more valuable than mere credits to offer you." Marcus's hand instinctively moved closer to his sidearm. "We agreed on 50,000 credits. I've got repairs to make, supplies to buy. Credits or so." "Mundane," Baron Kethis interrupted, waving a dismissive hand. "What I'm offering you is priceless." "Guards!" The ornate doors at the far end of the chamber swung open, and two guards entered, carefully maneuvering a hoverchair between them. Marcus's breath caught in his throat, despite himself. "The woman, no, the princess," he corrected himself, noting the intricate silver circlet adorning her brow was breathtaking. Her skin held the same blue tint as her father's, but softer, like moonlight on water. Long hair the color of starlight cascaded over her shoulders, and her eyes. Her eyes were the deep violet of nebulae, intelligent and fierce. She wore robes of midnight blue that seemed to shimmer with their own inner light, and despite her obvious physical limitations, she carried herself with regal dignity. "Allow me to introduce my daughter, Princess Zara," Baron Kethis announced, with theatrical flourish. "A brilliant mind, unfortunately trapped in a defective body. She was damaged in a speeder accident some years ago. Paralyzed from the waist down, you understand. Quite useless to me now." The princess's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but her voice remained steady. "Father, you cannot—" "Silence." The Baron's tone brooked no argument. "The transaction is complete. Mr. Vale, consider this payment for your services. Perhaps you can find some use for her. The black market has buyers for all types, I'm told." Marcus stared at the Baron, then at Princess Zara, whose violet eyes burned with barely contained fury. This had to be some kind of elaborate joke. "You can't just give me your daughter like she's a piece of cargo." "I believe I just did," Baron Kethis replied smoothly. "Unless, of course, you'd prefer to leave empty-handed. I could always tell the shadow creature's remaining family members where to find you." The threat was clear, and Marcus knew he was outnumbered. His ship needed repairs, and he had creditors on 3 different worlds who wouldn't hesitate to space him if he didn't pay up soon. But this was insane. "This is barbaric," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "This is business," the Baron corrected. "Guards, escort our guest and his new acquisition to his ship. And Mr. Vale?" The Baron's smile turned predatory. "I trust you'll find her as entertaining as I have found her troublesome." As the guards began to move the hoverchair, Princess Zara spoke for the first time since her failed protest. "If you think I'm going to cooperate with whatever scheme you have in mind, human, you're gravely mistaken." Marcus met her gaze, surprised by the steel in her voice. "Lady," Right now, I'm just trying to figure out how to get off this rock alive. We can discuss your future after I'm not staring down the barrels of 50 energy weapons. Something flickered in her eyes. Was that approval? Before he could analyze it further, they were moving through the fortress's corridors toward the landing bay where his ship waited. The Stardancer wasn't much to look at, a converted cargo hauler with more patches than original hull plating. But she was home. As the guards transferred Princess Zara to his ship's small passenger compartment, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just taken a turn toward the complicated. Gentle with her, he found himself saying as one of the guards roughly handled the hoverchair. She's still nobility. The guard sneered but complied, and Marcus caught a look of surprise on Zara's face. Once they were alone, and the ship was lifting off from the fortress, she spoke again. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Marcus asked, running through his pre-flight checklist with practiced efficiency. A brute. Someone who would see me as nothing but a burden or a commodity. She paused, studying him with those remarkable violet eyes. Someone who wouldn't care about treating a defective alien princess with basic dignity. Yeah, well, don't give me too much credit yet, Marcus replied, though he felt heat rise in his cheeks. I'm still figuring out what to do with you. I see. Her voice was carefully neutral. And what are your current options? Marcus turned in his pilot's seat to face her fully. She sat in the passenger chair with perfect posture, hands folded. In her lap, every inch the royal despite her circumstances. Honestly, the black market would pay handsomely for alien nobility. Paralyzed or not, you'd be worth enough to fix my ship and keep me flying for a year. And that's what you intend to do? Double quotes, Marcus found himself hesitating. There was something about her, the way she held herself, the intelligence in her eyes, the courage it must have taken to speak up to her father, despite knowing it was futile. I haven't decided yet. Well, Princess Zara said, her lips curving into the faintest of smiles. That's more honesty than I expected, and more hope than I've had in years. The ship's engines hummed as they entered hyperspace, carrying them away from Baron Kethis's world and toward an uncertain future. In the small passenger compartment, two very different people, one human, one alien, both carrying their own scars and secrets, began the first conversation of what would become an extraordinary partnership. Tell me, Marcus Vale, Princess, Zara said, her voice carrying a note of challenge. What do you know about neural regeneration therapy? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Why do you ask? Because, she said, her violet eyes sparkling with something that might have been hope. I think we might be able to help each other more than you realize. And as the stars streaked past the viewport, Marcus found himself wondering if the Baron's cruel joke might have been the best thing that ever happened to him. The Stardancer drifted through the vast emptiness of space, her hull creaking softly as the ship's environmental systems worked to maintain life support. In the 3 days since leaving Baron Kethis's fortress, Marcus had found himself spending more time in the passenger compartment than in the cockpit, ostensibly to check on his cargo, but increasingly because he found Princess Zara's company far more engaging than he'd expected. She had transformed the small space into something resembling a study, with datapads scattered across the fold-out table and holographic displays showing star charts and medical research. Despite her physical limitations, she moved with graceful efficiency, her upper body strength evident as she maneuvered between different workstations she'd created. You're not planning to sell me, she said without looking up from her current datapad as Marcus entered the compartment. It wasn't a question. What makes you so sure? Marcus asked, settling into the chair across from her. Over the past few days, he'd grown accustomed to their verbal sparring matches, finding her intelligence both challenging and oddly comforting. Because a man planning to sell someone doesn't bring them meals personally, doesn't ask about their comfort, and certainly doesn't upgrade their quarters with better medical equipment. She gestured to the improved hoverchair he'd installed the day before. Also, you've been researching neural regeneration therapy. I can see it in your browsing history. Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. Maybe I'm just trying to increase your market value. Maybe, Zara agreed, her violet eyes twinkling with amusement. Or maybe you're curious about whether I can be healed, because the idea of me walking again appeals to you for entirely personal reasons. Don't read too much into it, Marcus warned, though his voice lacked conviction. I'm still figuring out what to do with you. Well, while you're figuring that out, let me make you an offer that might solve both our problems. Zara activated a holographic display showing shipping manifests and financial records. I have access to all of my father's business dealings. His weapons trafficking, his illegal mining operations, his connections to the shadow creature breeding. Programs everything. Marcus leaned forward, studying the data. This is ... extensive. Why are you showing me this? Because Baron Kethis isn't just my father, he's one of the most dangerous criminals in this sector. And because I've been secretly documenting his activities for years, waiting for the right opportunity to bring him down. Her expression hardened. Giving me away like chattel was the final straw. You want revenge, Marcus observed. I want justice, Zara corrected. And I want to ensure he can never treat another person the way he treated me. This information could net you enough credits to buy a fleet of ships, Marcus. But I need something in return. Let me guess, you want me to help you get to one of those medical facilities you've been researching. Nexus Station 7, she confirmed. It's only 2 days from here, and they have the most advanced neural regeneration technology in known space. But there's a complication, Marcus groaned. There always is. What kind of complication? This station is run by Station Master Torrin, who has been trying to acquire my father's weapons contracts for years. If he discovers who I am, he'll either use you as leverage against your father or try to claim the information for himself, Marcus finished. Great, just great. It gets worse, Zara said with a rueful smile. My father has likely already put a bounty on my head. He can't risk me sharing what I know, and he certainly can't allow me to regain the use of my legs. A mobile, angry princess with damaging information is his worst nightmare. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Zara had come to recognize as his way of processing stress. So we're walking into a station run by a criminal who wants to use you, carrying information that half the galaxy would kill for while being hunted by your homicidal father. Did I miss anything? The experimental treatment is extremely painful and has a 30% failure rate, Zara added helpfully. Oh, and it requires absolute trust between the patient and their primary caregiver, as the neural pathways need emotional as well as physical support to regenerate properly. And you want me to be your caregiver? Marcus asked, his voice softer than he'd intended. I want you to be my partner, Zara replied, meeting his gaze steadily. In this, in bringing down my father, in whatever comes next. I know it's asking a lot, but why me? Marcus interrupted. You're brilliant, connected, and despite what your father thinks, you're not helpless. You could find someone more qualified. More what? More noble? More worthy of a princess? Zara's laugh was bitter. Marcus, in 3 days, you've shown me more kindness and respect than my own father has in years. You see me as a person, not as a broken object or a political tool. That's rarer than you might think. Before Marcus could respond, the ship's proximity alarms began blaring. He rushed to the nearest viewport, cursing under his breath at what he saw. Nexus Station 7, he announced grimly. And we've got company. 3 sleek patrol ships bearing. The station's insignia were approaching in formation, their weapon systems powered but not yet locked on. Zara maneuvered her hoverchair to join him at the viewport, her expression tense. "They're not attacking," she observed. "That's either a very good sign or a very bad one." The communication system crackled to life. "Unknown vessel. This is Station Master Torin. You are carrying cargo of interest to this station. Prepare to be boarded." Marcus and Zara exchanged glances. "He knows," Marcus said quietly. "He suspects," Zara corrected. "But he doesn't know what we know. That gives us an advantage." "What kind of advantage?" "The kind where you let him think he's in control, while I demonstrate just how dangerous an invalid princess can be," Zara replied, her violet eyes gleaming with anticipation. 20 minutes later, Station Master Torin materialized in the Star Dancers. Main compartment via transport beam, flanked by 2 heavily armed guards. He was a tall, imposing figure with the golden skin and 4 arms characteristic of his species, the Aurelians. His ornate robes marked him as both wealthy and powerful. "Marcus Vale," Torin said in a voice like grinding stone. "Your reputation precedes you. Though I must say, your choice of cargo is ... interesting." "Just transported goods," Marcus replied carefully. "Nothing more." "Ah, but this isn't just any cargo, is it?" Torin's compound eyes fixed on Zara, who sat in her hover chair with perfect composure. Princess Zara of the Cathari, Baron Kethis' daughter, the one he's been so desperate to ... relocate. "I'm flattered you recognize me, Station Master," Zara said coolly. "Though I must say, your information network could use some updating. I'm no longer my father's daughter. I'm my own person now." "Are you indeed?" Torin moved closer, his multiple arms clasped behind his back. "And what does your own person want?" "Medical treatment. I understand your station has excellent facilities for neural regeneration." "We do. We also have excellent facilities for detaining valuable prisoners until their families pay appropriate ransoms." Marcus's hand moved instinctively toward his weapon, but Zara's subtle gesture stopped him. "I'm afraid that would be a poor investment, Station Master. You see, Baron Kethis has already written me off as a total loss. He's not going to pay any ransom for damaged goods." "Perhaps not. But I suspect there are others who would pay handsomely for access to what you know about your father's operations." "Now that," Zara said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "is a conversation worth having. Marcus, would you be so kind as to prepare some refreshments? I believe Station Master Torin and I have business to discuss." As Marcus reluctantly moved toward the galley, he heard Zara's voice drop to a conspiratorial whisper. "Tell me, Torin, how would you like to own Baron Kethis' entire criminal empire?" The next few hours passed in a blur of negotiations, threats, and carefully calculated revelations. Zara proved to be a master manipulator, revealing just enough information to keep Torin interested while holding back the truly damaging evidence. She painted a picture of a partnership that would benefit them both. Torin would get access to Baron Kethis' network, while she would get her medical treatment and freedom. Marcus watched it all with growing admiration. This wasn't the helpless princess her father had tried to discard. This was a formidable opponent who had been playing a much longer game than anyone realized. "Very well," Torin finally said, his compound eyes glittering with greed. "You'll have access to our medical facilities. But you'll remain under station security until our business is concluded." "Of course," Zara agreed smoothly. "Though I should mention that my associate here will be serving as my medical proxy. I trust him completely." "That can be arranged," Torin replied, though his tone suggested he wasn't entirely pleased with the arrangement. "Your treatment begins tomorrow." After Torin and his guards had departed, Marcus turned to Zara with newfound respect. "That was incredible. You played him perfectly." "I've had years of practice dealing with men who underestimate me," Zara replied, though he could see the exhaustion in her eyes. "The question is, are you ready for what comes next? The medical treatment?" The part where I have to trust you completely with my life, she said quietly. The part where my neural pathways will be completely vulnerable, and I'll need an anchor to keep me grounded. The part where you'll literally be holding my mind together while my body tries to heal itself. Marcus felt the weight of her words. Zara, I know it's asking a lot, she continued, but I meant what I said earlier. I want you as my partner. Not just for this, but for everything that comes after. I know we haven't known each other long, but I've never met anyone like you, Marcus finished, moving closer to her chair. Anyone who could turn being discarded like trash into an opportunity for revenge and healing. Anyone who could make me forget that I'm supposed to be a hardened mercenary who doesn't get attached to his cargo. Is that what I am to you now? Cargo? Marcus knelt beside her chair, bringing himself to her eye level. No, you're the most extraordinary person I've ever met. And if you'll have me, I'll be your partner in whatever comes next. Zara's smile was radiant. Then tomorrow we begin the real adventure. As the Star Dancer was guided into Nexus Station 7's docking bay, neither of them noticed the dark ships lurking in the station's shadow ships, bearing the insignia of Baron Kethes's private fleet. A medical facility on Nexus Station 7 was a marvel of alien technology, its walls lined with crystalline matrices that pulsed with gentle blue light. Healer Nyx, a tall, ethereal being with translucent skin and silver hair that seemed to move of its own accord, glided between the various instruments with practiced grace. Her species, the Luminari, were renowned throughout the galaxy for their healing abilities, and she was considered one of the finest neural specialists alive. The procedure is complex, Nyx explained in her melodious voice, her large, opalescent eyes fixed on Princess Zara, who lay on the medical table in a specialized gown that allowed access to her spine. Your neural pathways have been severed for several years. To reconnect them, we must essentially rebuild the entire network from the point of injury downward. Marcus stood beside the table, his hand hovering protectively near Zara's shoulder. What are the risks? Death, permanent brain damage, or complete sensory overload, Nyx replied matter-of-factly. The neural pathways, once awakened, can become overwhelmed. Many patients lose their minds to the intensity of sensation, returning all at once. And that's where I come in? Marcus said, understanding dawning in his voice. Precisely. You will serve as her anchor, the steady, emotional and physical presence that keeps her grounded while her nervous system rebuilds itself. Your touch, your voice, your very presence will be the thread that guides her back to herself. Zara reached out and caught Marcus's hand, her fingers intertwining with his. Are you sure about this? Once we begin, there's no going back. You'll be connected to my pain, my fears, everything I experienced during the healing. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. I'm sure. We're partners, remember? I'm not going anywhere. The first phase of the treatment began with Nyx placing delicate neural interfaces along Zara's spine. Each contact point glowed with soft light as the technology interfaced with her nervous system. Marcus maintained his position at her side, one hand holding hers while the other rested gently on her forehead. Begin the first neural cascade, Nyx instructed, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The moment the treatment activated, Zara's back arched and she cried out, her grip on Marcus's hand tightening painfully. Her violet eyes rolled back, showing only white, and her entire body began to tremble. Zara, Marcus called out, his voice filled with concern. I'm here. I'm right here with you. The pain, she gasped, tears streaming down her face. It's like fire, like lightning running through my veins. I can't handle it. Yes, you can, Marcus said firmly, leaning closer so his voice was the only thing she could hear. You're the strongest person I know. You survived years of your father's cruelty. You outmaneuvered Station Master Torn, and you're going to survive. This too. Nix monitored the neural feedback, her expression growing concerned. Her stress levels are dangerously high. She's fighting the treatment. Talk to her, Marcus said urgently. What do I need to do? She needs to feel safe, loved, protected. The neural pathways respond to emotional stability as much as physical healing. You must become her entire world right now. Marcus took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice low and soothing. Do you remember what you told me about the gardens on your homeworld? The ones with the silver flowers that only bloomed under starlight? Zara's trembling began to subside slightly, her breathing becoming less erratic. The moon blossom. Gardens, she whispered. That's right. Tell me about them. Tell me what they smelled like. Like ... Like honey and starlight, she managed, her voice still strained, but more focused. They covered the entire courtyard outside my chambers. When I was small, I would sneak out at night to watch them bloom. What did it look like when they opened? Each petal would unfurl slowly, catching the light until the entire garden glowed like captured stars. Her grip on his hand relaxed slightly. I used to imagine I was walking among the constellations themselves. And you will again, Marcus promised. You'll walk through those gardens and 1,000 others. You'll dance under alien moons and climb mountains and run through meadows full of flowers I can't even imagine. The second phase of the treatment began, and with it came a new wave of agony. Zara's body convulsed as sensation flooded through. Nerve pathways that had been dormant for years. But this time, Marcus was ready. I've got you, he murmured, his free hand stroking her hair while she writhed in pain. I'm not letting go. Feel my hand in yours. Focus on that. Focus on my voice. Marcus. She sobbed, her eyes wild with pain and fear. I can't. It's too much. I can feel everything. Every nerve ending is screaming. I know it hurts, but you're not alone. I'm feeling it too, not the physical pain, but your fear, your struggle. And I'm here to carry some of that weight for you. Indeed, Marcus could feel an echo of her agony through their connection. The neural interfaces were designed to link patient and caregiver, allowing him to share her emotional burden while she healed. It was overwhelming waves of sensation, memory, and raw emotion washing over him in torrents. The third phase is the most critical, Nix announced, her voice tense with concentration. This is where we reconnect the lower spinal column. If it fails ... It won't fail, Marcus said with quiet certainty. Zara, listen to me. I need you to think about the future. Think about what you want to do when this is over. I want. She gasped, her body shaking with the effort of forming words. I want to feel grass under my feet again. I want to swim in the crystal lakes of Meridian. I want to dance. Dance, Marcus repeated, his voice thick with emotion. God, I want to see you dance. I want to watch you move with all that grace you show even now, but freely, without any limitations. Would you ... would you dance with me? She asked through her tears, her voice barely a whisper. Every day, if you'll let me, Marcus promised. I'll follow you across the galaxy, dancing on alien worlds and sailing through seas of stars. The neural cascade reached its peak, and Zara's scream of agony echoed through the medical chamber. Marcus felt her pain like a physical blow, his own body shaking with the effort of remaining her anchor. But beneath the pain, he could sense something else, a spark of hope, of healing, of nerves reconnecting and pathways rebuilding. I can feel it, Zara whispered suddenly, her voice filled with wonder. My legs ... I can feel my legs again. The neural regeneration is successful, Nix announced, her voice filled with relief. The pathways are reconnecting. But the process isn't complete. She'll need time to fully integrate the new neural network. Over the next several hours, Marcus never left Zara's side. He held her hand through waves of sensation as her nervous system slowly came back online, whispering encouragement and sharing stories of the adventures they would have together. He watched in amazement as she began to move her toes, then her ankles, then her entire legs. "It's working," she breathed, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Marcus, it's really working." "I never doubted it for a second," he lied, his own eyes wet with emotion. In truth, he'd been terrified of losing her, of watching her slip away into madness or death. But seeing her now, seeing the light returning to her violet eyes and the strength flowing back into her body, made every moment of shared agony worth it. "There's something else," Zara said softly, her hand still clasped in his. "During the treatment, when our minds were connected, I felt what you feel for me. Your emotions, your thoughts about us." Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks. "Zara, I love you too," she said simply. "I think I started falling for you the moment you told those guards to be gentle with me. But feeling your heart during the healing, knowing that you'd share my pain just to help me walk again. Marcus, I've never felt anything like that before." "I'm just a mercenary," he said, though his voice held no conviction. "You're a princess. This is crazy." "The craziest thing would be letting each other go," Zara replied. "I don't care about titles or bloodlines. I care about the man who saw past my paralysis to the person underneath. The man who chose to heal me instead of selling me. The man who held my hand through hell and promised to dance with me on the other side." Marcus leaned down and kissed her forehead gently. "When you're strong enough to stand, the first dance is mine." "Deal," she whispered, her eyes already drooping with exhaustion. "But first, I need to sleep. Rebuilding a nervous system is apparently quite tiring." As Zara drifted off to sleep, her hand still in his, Marcus felt a profound sense of completeness he'd never experienced before. He'd spent his entire adult life wandering the galaxy alone, taking jobs and moving on without forming attachments. But this alien princess had changed everything. "She will need several days to fully integrate the neural pathways," Nix said quietly, checking her instruments. "But the healing is complete. She will walk again, run again, be fully mobile." "You saved her life today, Marcus Vale." "She saved mine first," Marcus replied, his thumb tracing gentle circles on Zara's hand. "I just didn't realize it until now." "Love is the most powerful healing force in the universe," Nix observed with a smile. "Neural regeneration technology can rebuild pathways, but only love can rebuild souls." As the medical bay settled into quiet, Marcus kept his vigil beside Zara's bed. Through the viewport, he could see the stars streaming past as the station continued its orbit. Somewhere out there, Marion Kethis was probably plotting his revenge, and Station Master Torrin was undoubtedly planning his own schemes. But for now, none of that mattered. All that mattered was the woman sleeping peacefully beside him, her legs moving restlessly under the covers as her body remembered how to dream of running. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, and new adventures. But they would face them together as partners in every sense of the word. Marcus squeezed Zara's hand gently and settled back in his chair, ready to stand guard over her dreams and wait beside her when she was ready to take her first steps into their new life together. "Sweet dreams, princess," he whispered. "Tomorrow we dance."